Alrighty, so speaking of the careers service, we have all-round nice guy, general superstar, just wonderful human being who happens to be very passionate, genuinely very passionate about careers and employability, basically enhancing you as students, your employability as you embark on the next, well, looking forward to post degrees, you embark on your wonderful careers. So without any further ado, would love to welcome the wonderful Tyree to just quickly chat with you this evening.
Thank you, Francis. By the way, there are just two, I think, pop-ups on your screen that are just showing up gray on your presentation, but things are still visible. Wanted to start with a shout out to Prashika, who it was, I'm assuming she's on the panel. She was also had the pleasure of working with us as an administrator for the student careers and student employment service. So my name is Tyree. I'll just be speaking just for 2.5 minutes, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm going to put a couple of websites into the chat as I talk. The first website is there. It's called Careerhub, but what it really is Employability Connect. Employability Connect is our platform for all engagement for careers. So it's where our job boards are. It's where our resources are for things like resume writing, interviewing, especially preparing for those sometimes nerve-wracking interviews, and any other career resources you need to help you perform at your best. They're all there. So if you go into that website there, use your OneID password and your student ID number, you'll get right into it. Great resources there for you. You can also book a consultation right now virtually to talk with us. You can also book into our virtual and in-person workshops. And then once the new semester begins, we'll have employer presentations and other rotating offerings to you that you can also attend either virtually or in person. The next bit I wanted to discuss is actually, I'll send you the link now in chat as well. We have a service within our service called the Macquarie University Student Employment Team, also accessible via Employability Connects. All you need to know there is if you're a student that's ready for paid work, that needs paid work, that wants a bit of help finding paid work, you can log onto that webpage there, or log in and find them within Employability Connect, register for their services, and they're essentially a recruitment agency that helps to recruit students for paid work both on and off campus. The process of getting in is pretty easy, pretty short. You get an intake interview, maybe 1 or 2 workshops you need to attend to help improve on things like resume writing or interviewing skills. And then from there, you'll have weekly jobs sent to you. You'll also get a chance to apply to some close employer partners of Macquarie University, on-campus jobs such as with Campus Life, as well as off-campus such as with major brands like Hitachi as well. And then finally, of course, for the interview degree, you'll be doing your PACE unit. You can also find PACE information within Employability Connect. And as many of you on the call are interested in community service, definitely recommend you to get involved with the GLP program. They will have lots of opportunities for community service as well. Thanks for that. Back over to you, Francis. Sorry, you're just on mute.
So I don't know why it keeps automatically muting itself because I'm not pressing mute anyway. So that was right on your buzzer. So like literally perfect timing. Thank you so much, Tyree, and absolutely anyone who's interested in community service, please do. At this stage, going to welcome, speaking of community service, segueing perfectly to our next segment. Just before I introduce our first speaker, for those of you who are GLP students who would like to claim your points under either GLX 30A or GLX 30B, if you can please just jump onto the chat and just type in just something like hello or whatever, get a screenshot of that, and that will be your first piece of evidence, obviously, that you're actually here. So if you just jump onto chat and just say hello, get that screenshot, that'll show that you were here at the start of the session. And then we'll do the same thing just obviously before we wrap up, just tick before 6 p.m. You'll just write goodbye or something like that. That just prove. So with those 2 screenshots, that'll be the evidence that you need just for making that claim GLX 30A or B. So just jump on chat, say hello, screenshot, and we're good to go. So we're going to jump straight in. We have three wonderful speakers. They're wonderful for a range of, they're wonderful because they're just wonderful people. Wonderful because they are GLP alumni. So they were in your very spot not all that long ago. I think in April's case, a matter of months ago, really, not that long ago at all. So they were GLP students, now GLP alumni. They've graduated. And third reason why they're wonderful is because they are now working in community service. So like all of you, you've chosen to advance the cause of humanity. Of all the career options you could have chosen, you're here because you're interested in perhaps reflecting what you're currently studying, but you would like to go on and have a career in serving the community, particularly those less fortunate in our community. So shout out to all of you, firstly, for all of that. And obviously shout out to our wonderful speakers who are now advancing that cause of humanity and serving people as part of their job. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing them tonight. So without any further ado, April, would love to hear from you.
Hello everyone, thanks Francis for the lovely introduction. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that I'm on Macquarie land today at my place of work, and I also live on Darug land. So just like to pay my sincerest respects to the traditional owners of those lands. Sovereignty was never ceded, and yeah, just express my appreciation for their care of land. As Francis said, I'm the donor care of, I don't know if you said this, I'm the donor care officer at Mary MacKillop Today, as you can see on the screen. I started in this role exactly 3 months ago from today, so fairly new to the not-for-profit space, fairly new to the start of my career. So my job title is pretty niche. I'm guessing a lot of you read that and think, well, what do you do day to day? How did you get into that? What even is that? So I've just got some more notes and let's go through them. So my interest in international aid and development started in primary school when I participated in public speaking and debating competitions about human rights issues. So I think my first sort of introduction to this space was a public speaking competition in maybe year 3 or year 4 about refugee issues and rights. And that's kind of how I gained this interest and this passion of mine. This passion then developed throughout high school as I participated in the YMCA New South Wales junior and youth parliament programs and gained perspective of the intersectional nature of privilege and disadvantage. And I started to consider how a career in the not-for-profit sector could give me the opportunity to create the positive change that I wanted to see in the world. So yeah, I started thinking more about how I can make a change, not just through my personal life, but also through my career life. So then from there, I decided to study a Bachelor of International Studies, which I graduated with last year, majoring in French and Francophone studies, which is again very specific, but comes from the fact that I one day plan to work, with the United Nations and human rights issues. So French is of course one of the main working languages of the human rights space on an international scale. And I completed the GLP with merit last year. So I was it's funny, it feels a bit surreal actually. I was sitting in these sessions, like Francis said, just a few months ago. And yeah, the GLP really helped me to gain confidence. It made me aware of job opportunities that I didn't even know existed, for example, the one that I'm in right now, and really helped me align my talents and my passions with, places that I could work and roles that I could really make a contribution in. I had a little think about, some advice that I could pass on to someone wanting to work in the community sector or the not-for-profit space. And I thought my main piece of advice is probably to just get involved in the space as a student. So for me, I did volunteering. I volunteered as a task force or like leader member for the youth parliament program with the YMCA. That was great. I did that for 4 years, as well as did an internship with a women's rights organisation called One Girl that some of you may be familiar with. So yeah, I would just say volunteer, intern, get as much practical experience as you can in the sector. I know that can be hard. People always say that, and it's like, how do I find those opportunities? People say don't cold email, but for me that's worked. So I recommend cold email. That's how I got my internship. Just apply, and eventually you'll gain those positions and that experience. So yeah, I'll pass now to the next speaker.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that, April. And April was also at our the launch of our Alumni Achievers Network. So the quick backstory, should have mentioned before actually. So our 3 wonderful speakers here tonight are here as part of the GLP Alumni Achievers Network, which all of you as current GLP students will have the option of joining, obviously, once you graduate or finish the GLP, graduate from university, you'll be part of this network. So these are 3 students who obviously put their hand up, registered for the net, and are now part of the network. But in addition to that, put their hand up to say that they would like to essentially pay it forward, having benefited from the GLP. Want to obviously, not repay is not the right word, but serve current students and make a contribution back to the program, and that's why they're giving up their own time voluntarily this evening. So that's the capacity they're in, and we're obviously very appreciative of that. That's the 4th reason why they're wonderful. So without any further ado, we have the wonderful, I'm using that word a lot, but it's true, the wonderful Kathy May Sanaye, please excuse me if I mispronounce that, please correct me if I mispronounce that, who is a Youth Engagement Officer with Young Christian Workers and obviously GLP Alumni. Kathy, would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Francis, thank you. You were very close. It's Sanaya, but to be fair, I think I mispronounced it as well, so it's fine. Yes, as Francis said, I am GLP alumni. Actually, like April, I only graduated recently. I finished uni semester 2 of last year, so like many of you, I'm still waiting on my graduation ceremony to take place, whenever that will be. So yes, I am a youth engagement officer with Young Christian Workers. Young Christian Workers is a small charity started many years ago that I don't remember the date for. It was actually started by a priest at the time named Joseph Cardine, and he started this movement during the Industrial Revolution as he saw a lot of his friends. He went off to study to become a priest, and he saw a lot of his friends, young people, 12 and under, working in really poor conditions. And so he wanted to start a movement to inspire young people to take action on injustices that they were facing and injustices that they were seeing. And so Young Christian Workers employs something called See, Judge, Act, in which case you learn about an injustice, judge it based on your values, morals, or faith if you have one, and then actually take action on that. So that's a lot of the work that I'm doing now, is actually supporting, like, my bosses is a 20-year-old volunteer. So a lot of the work that I do is supporting young people to take action on the injustices that they're facing, and that they're seeing in their day-to-day lives. Okay, so that's enough about that, about my job per se. We'll get into a couple of the briefing questions that I was sent through. So I am a GLP alumni. I very much enjoyed my time in the GLP. I graduated with merit, completed with merit, I should say, last year. And it really was amazing for me. I didn't like uni per se. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but I didn't like uni per se, because I'm not a very academic person. I'm a very practical person, and the GLP allowed me the opportunity to actually do something with what I was learning, which is all I was missing in my degree, besides, of course, the PACE units. So the GLP really, like, I wouldn't be in the position that I am working today if it wasn't for the GLP. I gained a lot of experiences from the GLP. So in my experience, it was very much a trickled effect. I did a volunteer town hall tour guide experience with the City of Sydney, with which I met the head of their social programs department, who I was supposed to be volunteering with, but then COVID hit, because I learned about that area of social programming. I didn't know it existed previously. For context, I did a bachelor's of social science as well. And when COVID hit, I didn't get an opportunity to do that, but the GLP was really pushing other opportunities that were online. So they gave us Univative, which, if you don't know, is a competition in which I've seen a few nodding heads. Yes, Univative is an amazing experience. I very much recommend it. You basically get into a team of strangers from your university, compete with other strangers from other universities to solve a real world problem, where you have a company that comes to you and is like, this is our problem. For us, it was loneliness in, I think it was 20 to 30-year-olds or something like that, or 18 to 24, like in the youth group, youth age, was the problem we had to solve. And my team created an app, and we'll focus a lot on well-being. And through that, our team leader, another Macquarie, I think GLP student actually, her friend who studies psychology reached out and said, hey, do you want to join an ACTUS? And if you don't know what an ACTUS is, it stands for Entrepreneurial Action Us. And I ended up joining a team called Peerlink, which focuses on student wellbeing, in which case, through that, I ended up making a still standing mentoring program for Mossman High School using Macquarie University students. So I kind of inadvertently found myself in the experience of doing social programs voluntarily, creating the things that I'm doing now for work. So I'm currently creating social programs that are using university students. So all the experience that I gained in the GLP has just circled back around, which is amazing. So if I could go back to when I first started the GLP, which was in my first year of uni actually, one of the pieces of advice I give myself is, well, one, to actually do it in my first year of uni. It's a big adjustment. So I didn't do anything with the GLP till my second year of uni. But I would say to seek out the resources, seek out experiences would be one of my biggest pieces of advice. Find volunteering opportunities if you can't get a hold of an internship, because the odds are you'll probably be making great connections, great networks, be able to get a reference from somebody, which will help you get a job later on. I was really troubled with figuring out what I was going to do after uni. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself or my degree. And I didn't learn what that was until I started doing some of these experiences through the GLP. I'd recommend to seek out as many experiences as you can, and not only in things that you know you like and that you know you want to do, but try to find things that are related to your field, but not exactly like the dream job that you have in mind, because the job I'm doing now isn't something I really knew existed, but I can't think of anything better to do with myself at this point in my life. This is like, I have the job that I really, really want, and I'm in a place with this job that I'm very happy with, and it's really fulfilling and uses a lot of my talents. So do things that you're not entirely aware of, seek out experiences and discover fields and opportunities that you didn't know existed, or that you've heard of but might not be entirely interested in, because you might find that you might find that you've found a job or an area which you can really passionately work in, and quite importantly make money with in the future, because everybody's got to eat. Yeah, that'd be my greatest piece of advice, to take every experience that you can and move forward with it, because not only does it look great on your resume, but it really builds your character. I think I genuinely learned more through the GLP than I did in my degree. Sorry, Macquarie, but it's true, because like I'm one of the people that say knowledge is power, and it is, but that knowledge isn't just academic, it's practical. And so as much as you might learn the soft or hard skills that you do from your degree on how to do something, working in an office space, working with people, especially working with difficult people or with easy people, whatever it is very different when you're practically applying all those things that you learn within your degree. So if you're not part of the GLP, I would recommend joining if you have the time, and trust me, you'll find a way to make the time. But if you are, do a lot of volunteering, do a lot of internships if you can. Don't be disheartened if you don't get those opportunities, because there's you, and then there's 1,000 other students who are in the same position wanting to do those positions. So I'd recommend as well looking on Seek Volunteer. It's actually, like, I know that my work uses it, and a lot of small charities use Seek Volunteer to look for people to work in those roles. And I really recommend working for a small charity, because it's a bit more personal. You're more likely to get a lot of good connections, surprisingly, and you're more likely to have a good connection with the person who's supervising you than you might in a big charity or a big organization. So that is, I guess, my story and the advice that I have for you tonight.
Thank you so much for that, Kathy. Sorry, I just got to get this out of the way. She was scratching on the door, and she's not going to leave me alone until she's had the chance to lick me in front of everyone, and to say hello. So this is little Athena, who's the Greek goddess, as you can tell, the Greek goddess of wisdom, strategy, and war. So she's very much living up to her name at the moment. So she's got that out of her system. So I'll just pop her back over here, and I'm sure she'll continue to annoy me. She was like just scratching on the door nonstop. absolute pearls of wisdom there, Kathy. Thank you so much. And I'll just throw out there something that I noticed. There's a bit of a trend happening, which is both April and Kathy completed the GLP with merit, and a matter of months or pretty much straight after their degree, and now working full time. So maybe there's something in there. Thank you so much for that, Kathy. That was absolutely brilliant. And I was hanging off your every word, and hopefully students were too, because just as I say, pearls of wisdom there that will benefit all of you. Next up, our third and final speaker before we open it up to you for a bit of a roundtable discussion and obviously for any questions. We have the wonderful Prishika Arora, who works with an organisation that is quite indispensable. So I'm sure she'll share a little bit about what Mission Australia does, and you'll understand why. It is an absolutely indispensable and extraordinarily valuable organisation at enhancing social justice and working with those less fortunate here in our community. Prishika is a case manager with Mission Australia, so she's very much at the front line working with them. So without any further ado, Prishika, would love to welcome you this evening.
Thank you for such a lovely welcome, Francis, and thank you for the shout out, Tari. So I'm just gonna begin with sharing how I actually got to Mission Australia, and probably I guess diving into what which service I work for at Mission Australia as well. So I have been very passionate about mental health since I was about 16. The culture background that I come from, there's a lot of stigma that surrounds mental health. So it was not an easy journey for me to even, advocate for me to actually study a Bachelor of Psychology at Macquarie University. But it's something that's not really ever stopped me from advocating for mental health. It's rather strengthened the fact that I feel so passionate about mental health. And I think I'm really keen to always raise awareness and exercise compassion when I deal with people who have mental health issues. So I did have psychology as my subject for 2 years in high school, and I did volunteer for organizations where I worked with kids who had autism. And then I started my Bachelor of Psychology at Macquarie in 2018, and then moved on to also apply, also enroll in GLP, which actually gave me so many different experiences. And I think it has also enabled me to actually make a decision as to where I wanted to where I wanted to see my career going. At first, when I started, I actually wanted to become a clinical psychologist, but I think GLP helped me make a very informed decision as to what I wanted to do. I volunteered with various organizations, so I was with Generous and Grateful, and then I was also part of Peer Link with Inactive, same as Kathy, was also part of Innovative. I also was partly there for the program for a bit until lockdown happened. And I think as a combination, I think it really gave me insight into what I really wanted to do, because I think as many of us, when we start off, we're not really sure what we want to really do. And then I think that's okay. And I think not knowing is actually a beautiful thing, because it means you're actually open to more possibilities and exploring what the different options are out there, and then making informed choices from there. And I think GLP also helped me get a job at Career and Employment Service. I actually, while I was mentoring with the mentoring program at Macquarie University, wherein we actually assist new students transition to university life, I happened to network with someone and ended up actually working at a department at university where I first started as a migration assistant. And I think that experience led me to actually also apply for a job at Career and Employment Service. And I really, really want to highlight that actually every experience is so valuable, because a fun fact that my experience at Career and Employment Service helped me, learn about interviewing skills and how to actually develop a resume, which I'm actually utilizing in my current role, which I actually never thought I would be. but I am. So my role is with a service called Psychosocial Support Service, where we basically work with those who have mental health diagnoses. We help them with various things. So this could be helping them with financial difficulties. So sometimes it could be linking them with a financial counselor, or sometimes delivering food hampers to them, or linking them to an organization close to them that they can actually access to get food hampers. Or sometimes this could include helping them with employability, where my skills from the current employment service comes in play. And sometimes we also link them to providers who are actually specialists in providing the career advice, but sometimes it's also not possible for various reasons, which will be hard to go into in this short time. But yeah, we help with that. We help with the NDIS applications, which is basically just a government funding for those who have disabilities. So there are various things that my service specifically does. We also, and my role also involves assessing for risks such as homelessness or domestic violence, and also taking actions to actually address those risks for me as an individual, as an organization, and also for the client. But Mission Australia itself has many different services. It has an early intervention program, which basically focuses on those who are at risk of homelessness or already homeless. We also have youth programs, alcohol and drug programs, and many of them that I'm not aware of, unfortunately. But I just want to say, the only thing I would actually want to say to students is that, I would really encourage for you to actually go out there and really be involved in many different things, because I think it really would help you to make informed choice and learn about yourself, and actually learn new skills, and actually make you realize of skills that you didn't even think you would have. And I think having GLP and the experiences through GLP and my employment experiences with different organizations has definitely helped me in my current role, and also to help me get my current roles. I would definitely encourage being a bit going outside your comfort zone, and actually being in that discomfort, and actually, because I feel like that's where growth lies. So I would highly encourage that. Thanks so much.
Prishika, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Sorry, this is, as you can probably tell, it's pandemonium at the moment in my little workspace here. So Athena has run out, and then my grandma started knocking on the door because she thought I was talking to her. So she came in. So here's my little grandma. Look up there, Bella. Say hello. Right, so there's my beautiful little grandma.
Yeah.
All right. So she's got the chance to say hello.
This one there.
Yes, Bella. Mettete qui, Bella, perché stinga lavorare, okay, Bella? Okay. So now you've got to meet some of the wonderful people in my life. So sorry, but the joys of working from home. Eh? Prishika, that was absolutely wonderful. Again, I think we've just absolutely hit a hat trick tonight in terms of brilliant speakers who, not just the specific roles that you do within those organizations, but the organizations themselves. And I think the three of you find a lot of value, like a real purpose. Like, I'm sure waking up in the morning must frankly be quite easy for the three of you, because you're waking up in the morning and you know that, by you waking up in the morning, having breakfast, going to work, there are people out there, whether directly or indirectly, whose lives are going to be better as a result of your work. So you waking up and going to work means that people, particularly those who really need it, have a better life as a direct result of your efforts and the work that you do. So, and I think we could hear that in your presentations tonight, just the passion, and that you really seem like you're not just like, oh, well, I kind of got stuck doing things, so I ended up in community service. You can really see it, that it's a heartfelt decision and conscious decision for you to do that. So just wanted to absolutely commend you on that. And what an absolute adornment, frankly, what an absolute adornment you are to the Global Leadership Program, as students who have been through and are now enacting the kind of things that GLP tries to impart on its students. So for all of current students, when you hear GLP talk about the GLP values and all of that kind of thing, we have 3 literal examples of, what we hope you're going to be as awesome as these 3 one day. So thank you so much, April, Kathy, and Prishika. So without any further ado, so whatever way, so if you're obviously more comfortable typing a question in the chat, you're most welcome to. Keep in mind, Tyree is still with us too, if you have a question for him. If you're more comfortable typing in the chat, you're welcome to. Otherwise, feel free just to pop yourself on mute and jump straight in. This isn't too formal. We've got 3 wonderful, 4 if we include Tyree. Feel free to ask away. This is your chance. I'll just keep an eye on the chat. For those of you, you can probably now see a box on the screen. That's just the chat box. I don't know why it comes up like that on the screen, but I'm just monitoring that. And thank you so much, Kathy, who's very kindly popped in her email. So feel free to ask a question. You should, otherwise I'll just keep talking, and you definitely don't want that.
Yep. For Careerhub, like I'm not familiar with Careerhub. Like how they assist you to help you find a job?
Sure. So briefly, Careerhub, and the actual website is Employability Connect. So we have a jobs board, a few of them actually. We have one for general jobs, one for PACE internships, and then one for the Macquarie University Student Employment Service. All there on the same page. So we have jobs, we have resources to help you write resumes, to help you get ready for interviews, to help you job search as well. And then we also have presentations and workshops. So presentations from employers or workshops from employers on things like what they want to see on your resume or what they want to hear you say in an interview. And then of course, other workshops given by us, as well as other workshops that are employment related that are within and outside the university. So everyone's who's on the panel's points are in terms of getting more involved. We can assist you through our events listing with getting those additional experiences Prashika mentioned, getting that rich array of experience and exposure, and getting more, exposure and bits of knowledge in to help you to define a career path.
Okay, that's great. This sounds great. I never found it before.
Log on after this and have a play around.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Tyree. There is a question that I actually think, so there's a few questions coming in now. There's a question from Luke that I believe is probably best. I mean, if April, Kathy, or Prishika, if you have an idea, please feel free to jump in. But Tyree, I think this one's probably best for you. Then Kisa will jump to your question. Does New South Wales, I'm guessing that's the Office of Community Services, Disability Services, offer good opportunities for internships and work experience? So I'm not sure if that's something that's popped up that's on our radar.
I imagine they would. I think for most departments in the New South Wales, they may advertise on a website called iworkfornewsouthwales.gov.au. That's where most of their vacancies are. I imagine that most, if not all of them, would have some sort of, ideally have some sort of internship or work experience program. I can't speak directly to that particular department, but I know a lot of them do have internship programs. Also, this is more the Public Service Commission of New South Wales, so not quite the same area. Public Service Commission New South Wales, I can confirm, has also virtual internships or virtual experiences on their website as well, so that if you either don't have the time or have maybe other commitments, you can also perhaps do learning experiences virtually, whether it's an internship or a learning experience. But I'd hop on the website for FACS or Disability Services to see what they offer. If it's an internship, actually those applications might be opening maybe now or soon for the summer. So I'd hop on and have a look as well, unless anyone has any further insight.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyree. And the other thing that I'd recommend, Luke, and everyone is refer to a really good point that April mentioned during her presentation, which is, look, flick an email, like just cold email, just say, hey, I'm studying, you know, XYZ. I'm passionate about A, B, C, D. You know, you're a community service provider or whatever it might be. You know, I'd love to come in and volunteer sometime. That's, you know, the worst that happens is they either not respond, like you don't lose anything. If they don't respond, if they come back and say, look, sorry, we don't have opening, you haven't lost anything. But if you do that for, you know, if you flick out 20 emails and you just get one response saying, hey, we would love for you to come in, you'd be most welcome to come in and hang out for a day a week and see what we do, that's worth it. Like you don't lose anything. So Luke, that's probably what I'd recommend with that one, just with internships in general. But thank you for posing that question. Before we jump to Krisa's question, I noticed that April, in fact, all three of our wonderful speakers have posted their contacts. So feel free to reach out to them. That's incredibly generous of them. We have a really good question here from Krisa, which I think is probably on a lot of your minds. Directed to Prishika. What type of internships do you recommend for a psychology student who also wants to be a case manager? Do you have any resources that helped you apply for internships? Beautifully worded. Prishika, if you may.
Yes, thanks for the question, Krisa. Firstly, I would again encourage you to actually involve yourself in different experiences. So while I was a student, I also actually did an internship which was specifically relating to organizational psychology. So this was done through the PACE program. So you would have an opportunity in your third year to choose what kind of internship you want. If you specifically want something that would be more, I guess, related to where my role stands in the service that I'm part of, I would recommend things like maybe either, you know, applying as a role as a support worker for organizations such as Higher Up. It's basically where you work with those who have disability and provide them simple supports, like maybe helping them going out and going on outings, or even just like psychosocial support. And I think the other thing that I would also suggest is having a look on the, I think the name has changed. I think it's called Employability Connect website now. I'm not sure, but yes, it is. Okay. So if you actually head on there, they actually have a great list of jobs, and they actually post it almost every week. So I would highly recommend heading onto that website and actually filtering out and seeing, you know, what actually clicks with you, what kind of experience you think you might be interested in, because you might be interested in maybe something where, you know, you actually mentor someone, or something like where it's more practical, maybe something like ABA therapy. So there are many fields in psychology. So I would highly recommend going there because it has both paid and unpaid opportunities. And as for the second question, which asks if there were any resources that helped me apply for internships, I think it would be the GLP emails that I subscribed for. And also I think they had a GLP Facebook group, which I don't know if it still exists.
It is, yeah, it does.
It does exist. So yeah, awesome. So I looked at those. I also, and again, going back to Employability Connect, looked at that as well. Sometimes I would also head on to seek.com. And I think somewhere in Employability Connect, there would be a flyer. I guess Tari would be able to talk about it better, where it actually has a compilation of different websites that you can actually go to actually look for internships. I would highly recommend also to actually access that flyer, but I don't know if it's changed or if it's the same.
It's a web link. I'll post it shortly.
Okay, thanks, Tari. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And I would also encourage looking into volunteering opportunities with Mission Australia or Winnie's or Salvation Army, also Race Foundation, where you can actually mentor. I think these all are great opportunities. And like I mentioned before, I don't think any experience goes in vain, because who knows what your role would require. And I feel all skills are transferable. So I don't think there's one specific internship that helped you, because I honestly didn't imagine that I would actually be helping my clients to actually write resumes. So yeah, so just go out there, just see internships that click with you, and yeah, have a look at these websites. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
That was wonderful and very, very in-depth. Thank you so much for that, Prishika. Now all of you current students know why we invited these awesome alumni back, because this kind of advice they're passing back to you really is invaluable. Tyree, who is reaffirming the contention, my initial contention about him being an all-round nice guy that is very passionate about enhancing your employability and giving you career opportunities, has popped in a few links now in the chat. So if you wanted to just jump into the chat to have a look at those, there are just a series of links that he's put in there that will be helpful to all of you. Just quickly, something Prishika mentioned, I mean, now you don't have to take it from us. I know we GLP staff say, read the emails, check the Facebook page, all of that kind of thing. Collectively, hours go into preparing that. So Tina, who's with us tonight, one of the advisors, is the one who sends that out. But collectively among the team, in terms of going to look out for those opportunities, finding them, putting together, like collectively, hours go into preparing that email every week. So like every 99% of internship, volunteer, conferences, all those kind of opportunities, if it exists and if it's relevant and if it's good, it's going to be in that email. So please make sure that you're checking those. Just keeping an eye on the chat. So if anyone else has a question, I'm keeping an eye on the chat if you're typing it there, or feel free to jump in. I will just mention, just as some people are thinking of some questions, and I'm keeping it on the chat, just segueing from what Prishika mentioned. So you would have also seen it on social media. So on Monday at midday, if you're free, because I'm guessing quite a few of you are probably psychology students. We have another one of these sessions with GLP alumni who are now working in the field of psychology. So both as psychologists and in the broader field of psychology. So if you're free on Monday at midday, that one will also be really, really good too. Thank you. April has popped in a link too.
Francis, can I ask a question as a GLP staff member?
In fact, everyone, if you haven't met, because I know all of you current GLP students will know Annika. Anyone who's not yet in the GLP, but you're certainly going to be, this is the wonderful Annika, who is the manager of the GLP. So please jump in, Annika.
Thanks, Francis. Sorry I'm late, everybody. Tina and I were on a call with a speaker in India that we're hoping to get to. A big apologies that I was late, and I'm sorry I missed some of the speakers. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My question actually is around whether the GLP was helpful in your interview processes, or whether you found the opportunity to talk about some of the opportunities or some of the experiences you had while you were interviewing for your roles. That's the whole question. Thanks, April.
I'll jump in. Yeah, no, definitely very helpful. Definitely something that came up in the interview. In fact, I don't even think I was the first to mention it. I think one of the interviewers was actually the one that brought it up, was very interested in my experience with the GLP, saw that I'd completed it with merit, was very keen about that as well. Yeah, I think it just demonstrates, initiative that you're taking on an extracurricular activity on top of your academic workload. And it shows a true passion as well, because, you're gaining something on your resume, yes, but it's so many hours of work, so they can really see that commitment, that dedication, and that's a real, practical demonstration of your passion for the cause that you're, interviewing for, I guess.
Thanks, April. That's great. Prishika, did you have anything to add?
I I think I would just add that because of GLP, like while I was given opportunities to be part of programs such as the mentoring program, I also had the exposure to actually be part of an interview. So I think that's another thing with GLP, that it actually exposes you to that experience early on, so you don't feel as anxious to actually be in the interview process when you actually apply for a job. Yeah, so that's the only thing I would like to add, that's another value to actually being part of GLP, because it's amazing.
Awesome. I'm obviously doing this partially to make sure that students complete, but I am genuinely interested because I wish I could be a fly on the wall in your interviews and see whether it genuinely helps you. So this is sort of market research, so thank you. Kathy, I'm not sure if you had anything to add as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Prashika that in my experience, like a lot of the experiences that I did with the GLP were things that we had to interview first to get into, including the colloquium. I did the symposium, the China symposium, which first exposed me to the STAR interview technique, which if you don't know what it is, I would recommend after this ends to go through and search up the STAR interview technique, because it's quite useful, and some employers will even tell you that they're going to use it. So like prepare yourself, because they're very efficient. But yeah, it definitely gave me a lot of interview experience, which was great. But for me, I was in a kind of unique position where I was overqualified for some jobs that I wanted to get into and underqualified for others. But my GLP experience, like I didn't have much else besides my GLP experience behind me for the field I wanted. So it was the majority of like me selling myself was being like, I did this, I made this thing through the GLP. So it definitely helped there.
Awesome. Thanks, Kathy. Francis, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, the three of you. That was wonderful. Just in case that if you can't see in the chat, I'll just read out a comment Tyree has made. In interviews, employers love tangible examples of transferable skills. GLP is a great way to talk about passion points and areas of interest. Better to demonstrate it versus just claim it. Okay, so as you said, Kathy, so instead of just walking and be like, yeah, hypothetically, I love doing X, Y, Z, GLP is, because remember on your transcript that you'll get, it is quite literal, like, here's all the stuff that I've done. Like you can prove it's not just hypothetical, that you're wonderful and awesome and perfect for the job. I don't know how many times I've used the word wonderful tonight, but there we are. So just before we wrap up, just, I guess putting back on my GLP hat, but also human to human, particularly given the spirit of what we've been talking about tonight. Just very quickly wanted to say to all of you current students, yes, your studies are important, all of that kind of stuff, but life happens, obviously. And sometimes the way, like this is a funky GLP water bottle, think of us as like cups, okay, or bottles or whatever. We can only take on so much water before we start to overflow, and that's perfectly okay. So I just wanted to reassure you that there are qualified and caring people at Macquarie University who are ready to help you with any strategies or any of that kind of thing. All you have to do to reach out if you feel like your cup is starting to overflow, it's perfectly okay. All you need to do is jump onto Google. Quickest and easiest way, if you jump onto Google, type in MQ Wellbeing. The top link that comes up, it'll come up with all the information, the way that you can access support, the way that to contact the wellbeing team. I encourage you, as someone who at various stages in my life has also done this, please do. Please look after yourselves. Your mental health is important, and please do look out for each other. If you've got a friend who feels like they need support, you can refer others if you feel that you need to, and obviously pass that information on to them. Please make sure that you're looking after yourselves. So without any further ado, because it's right on 6 o'clock, so we're running perfect on schedule tonight. As I mentioned at the start, or at some stage tonight, the three speakers that we had tonight really are an adornment to the program. When we kind of imagine, I'm sure when GLP was envisioned and then when it started, when it was conceived, the ideal student, like the kind of outcomes, the kind of perfect student envisaged back then that a GLP student would go on to be, I think it's pretty safe to say are the three wonderful speakers who we've had tonight. And I think it's not just me trying to be nice for the sake of it. You've heard them tonight. You know exactly what I mean. They're just superstars serving humanity, and they've given up their evenings tonight. So I think there's a feature where you can add love hearts and all of that kind of thing. I can't seem to be able to do it from mine because I'm sharing a screen. So if we could, here we go, I can do it from my phone. There's a love heart. So if we could just, share and just say thank you or something like that. One last point, please do actually jump on the chat and just type in something like thank you or whatever. Get that screenshot because that will be the final piece of evidence. So you all got your start of session evidence. Jump on and say thank you or goodbye, whatever, to prove that you were here at the end. And then you've got your 2 pieces of evidence. So on behalf of the team, thank you so much to our 3 wonderful alumni. So proud of you. All strength to you. Please keep up the wonderful work. Cannot wait to hopefully see you soon. And to our current students, thank you so much for joining us. I hope all of you have a wonderful and safe evening, and please do stay safe with the weather. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Francis. Take care, everyone.